problem of violence on women in war is a worldwide problem.
We want to make women's work visible and women's politics.
If you educate a man, you educate an individual. If you educate a woman, you educate a nation.
We must elect more women, yes. I mean, we're only 10% in the parliaments of the world.
The Fourth World Conference on Women is the largest international conference ever convened under the United Nations auspices. 17,000 people registered, including 5,000 delegates from 189 nation states, 4,000 representatives of non-governmental organizations, and well over 3,200 representatives of the world media. That was at the official conference. But the conference was notable because of the forum, the non-governmental organizational forum, which was an independent and parallel conference held in conjunction with the official conference and attracted some 30,000 participants, women and some men, from every part of the world. This is the largest participation that has ever occurred.
I declare the NGO Forum on Women, Beijing, 1995.
Beijing that we really gave birth to a stronger and newer global movement for democracy. The Beijing Platform of Action is the strongest statement, though not perfect, of consensus on women's equality, empowerment, and justice ever produced by governments.
I have been inspired especially by the women from the South, by the women from the developing countries, who against overwhelming odds have fought to change their lives.
My name is Mary Rushwaya, and I am from Zimbabwe, YWCA. And I am here because of the World YWCA. This is rural appropriate technology. All the women are so happy with this technology because, you know, they are now able to make bread on their own at home. Some areas we don't even have the bread. We have to go some 4 or so many kilometers. But now the women are making the bread on their own and at local. And also they make bread for sale. They are now able to earn the money. Before, they didn't even have to know that a woman can get some money from anywhere. But because of this thing, it is a local technology and also an income generating. This is called the drum oven. I work with the grassroots women. I visit communities. I visit villages. And we sit down together with the villages. They actually identify their own problem themselves. And then we sit down and share. And then I direct them how to go about an issue.
My name is Kathy Tani, and I am from Papua New Guinea. Port Moresby is a center place, but there are a lot of squatters. So we are one of the squatters, so we call it settlement or community area. I am a president for the community or the Talai settlement. And the rest of my women, I have members of 44 women who I worked with, who I helped them. Sometimes when they don't speak English, and I interpret for them. And I am teaching them how to sew the clothes and how to bake scones, because they are right down level. Some of them didn't went to school, and some of them only grade 6, and some of them even grade 1. So I'm trying to give them literacy training so they can know something. We are trying to do something like doing handcraft, weaving the balloons or string bag, something like that to sell on the street. We're trying to come and steal ideas from the world so that we can go and make use of that ideas, new ideas, so that we can help our children.
Yeah, send your girl child to school, send your girl child to school. Mama, I want to go to school. Daddy, I want to go to school. I want to learn reading.
My name is Nuha Hijab. I live in a small village in Israel, in North Israel. And I'm a mother for 3 wonderful children. And I have a great husband. He all the time encouraging me to improve my education. I didn't have a chance to learn when I was single, because I'm a girl, first. And second, because the economical situation with my family wasn't good to educate, because the university in Israel, it's expensive and you have to pay much money, and it's far from me. I have to travel every day. And my father didn't believe that the girl should learn. He said that the girl after the high school, she should marry and have children and to be home keeper. And that's what he made. But it's my luck that I have a great husband. He saw me how much I like to read.
We have an organization in Brooklyn, New York, where it's called Neighborhood Women of Williamsburg Greenpoint, which is a community-based organization that deals specifically with women's issues and their families. In New York City, the high school dropout rate in the community where I work, it's close to 80%. One of the biggest things that we see now is that we have all these young girls, specifically the young girls who are getting pregnant at 12, 13, 14 years old, usually by much older men, 25, 26-year-old, who provide, who for the young women, they think they provide stable environment because they have an apartment, or because they have a nice car, or because they have things that they do not have. But what happens is that this man is with them for just a few months. Usually they're not there until the baby is born. So we have an alternative high school where young people are able to bring their children in, and we have a daycare for them. And one of the biggest things that we try to work at is trying for that teenager, when she has her first child or he has his first child, not to have another child until that person is able to go to school, finish their high school, get a trade, go to college, so that they're able to support and create a better living for themselves.
My name is Margot from the Solomon Islands, and I came here to represent the Soroptimist International of the South Pacific. I got a big family with 5 brothers and 6 sisters. I was able to be the lucky one to be educated in a church school that belongs to the Church of England. And it was a privilege for me that I was taken by the missionaries to school, and I was cared for. And beside that, my father was able to help me to pay all my necessities to go to school. Though he was not educated, he saw that it was important for me to go to school. So I went to the primary school, and then went to a high school, and then I went to a college where I was trained to become a teacher. In my country, not every parents go to school, and not all parents have jobs. So I got Loretta, who goes to King George the High School, which I am paying her school fees with everything else that she is expected to have at school. Now, I have been paying school fees for another girl who has already left school, and she is to train to become a computer. So I'm actually sponsoring 2 girls in my country, and I feel that I have to help the women of tomorrow to be educated, and especially in getting a job.
My name is Zhang, Z-H-A-N-G, Zhang Zhanxia. It's very difficult for you people. So I work in Zhongshan University. So I'm a chemist. And working in the chemistry department. And I'm also involved in the environmental science also. I'm the director of the Environmental Science and Engineering Research Center. Goals of given every opportunity to be educated. After the graduation, the government will give them, they will allocate jobs for them. Of course, you can go to the governments, they can give you jobs. But if you want to choose for yourself, they have less chance than the boys, They will think that when the boys come, when the girls, they will have marriage, pregnancy, and children. So they will rather, those private company, they would rather have boys. That this is a problem. Yeah, I think in America you have this also.
We think it's very necessary to change the whole structure of the working world, to make it more women and mother and family friendly. And basically, the working world is organized around a male way of life. Going to work at 8 hours a day and then coming home and having someone else take care of the rest of private life or private work is a male way. And these others are usually women. It's either your wife, or it's your grandmother, or it's your nanny. It's a woman. There's a necessity to evaluate unpaid work more strongly than it is now, and also to evaluate motherhood in a way that is not just verbal.
The child care is so awful in Germany. For example, after 5 o'clock you don't get childcare. So if you're a nurse, you're in trouble.
The project that we did that's particularly related to women's issues was a project about breastfeeding in our particular, I think that was in 3 counties in western North Carolina in the Appalachian Mountains, where many, many people are living in poverty. And it was discovered by the county nutrition workers that fewer women in Appalachia are breastfeeding their babies than is true of the nation as a whole. Breastfeeding is the natural way to do it, and it's better for everybody. It also is free. The biggest victory we felt was the fact that we were able to get some of the managers of the mills and the factories in the area, places where the young mothers are working, to provide a space and break time for the mothers to use the breast pump, and then they could save the milk and feed the babies when they got home. We're still working on the ideal thing would be to have a way for the babies to be there in a care center and be able to be fed directly during the working day.
Israel
Amnesty International, and we're demonstrating that women's rights are human rights. These are cases that Amnesty have worked on women who have been victims of human rights violations.
I lived Iran because I had to live for, for save myself and my children. All of the laws are against the women, and we denounce the Islamic laws against the women in our country, and there isn't any human right, and there isn't any human rights. It's really very different from Islam, like the religion. It's not religion, it's political. There is a lot of women that they try to do something. For example, last summer they arrested 80,000 women in the street because their scarf was not here, was there, and there is a resistance like that. There isn't any discussion with them. They kill you. They don't permit you to be.
Unfortunately, even in the United Nations, in the platform for action, there is this blatant thing called trafficking, prostitution, and related issues like pornography. These are made invisible.
Gabriela, Philippines. We work in the United States on the issue of the mail order bride. We have 50,000 women from the Philippines who have been sold to all kinds of men in the United States. And this business is legal and unregulated. And you have agencies selling 16-year-old girls from the Philippines, from Thailand, from South Korea, from Peru, Ecuador. And now they're starting to sell women from Eastern Europe and Russia. We have to do something about this. This is trafficking in women.
My name is Nelia Sancho, and I come from the Philippines. My organization is Lila Pilipina and the Asian Women Human Rights Council. Lila Pilipina started as a support group for Filipino comfort women survivors. The word comfort women actually is a term of the Japanese Imperial Army, which in Japanese is Jogun Ian Fu, and literally it means military comfort women. But it is actually a very serious crime which violates the rights of women, and it really involves violence and brutality on women, and this is what we call the military sex slavery, which has been part of a policy of Japanese Imperial Army in World War II to conscript or forcibly recruit thousands of Asian women from Korea, the Philippines, China, Malaysia, and everywhere where the Japanese army went to occupy. It took 50 years for the comfort women survivors to speak about their experience, and it is because it was only this time that a support movement of the women in Asia have come to provide that environment where they can speak out without shame and without fear that they will be stigmatized.
Na sa aking pagkatanda, dinadala ko, kaya nung mabigyan ako ng pagkakataon para ipahayag.
It was in the Second World War in 1943, 44, 45, when the Japanese army occupied the Philippines, that her experience of rape and sexual violence from the Japanese army started. She was barely 14 years old when this happened. She was still a girl, and so this was extra traumatic for her to experience extremely brutal rape from a Japanese officer who kept her for several nights and used her many times during the day. And she said that this experience had taught her how war and rape in war is extremely not only painful but really awful and all people should work together to stop wars and to stop rape in women.
Sa mga napipinsala at naghihirap ng mga kababaihan.
She's making a call to the Japanese government to be accountable for what they had done to all comfort women victims all over Asia. They have a responsibility because of what they have done about forcibly conscripting them and all other women victims. She's also calling out on all governments whom she thinks entered into a war with each other because of greed, and they should stop, invading, and they should stop making aggression, and they should think of the ordinary population, the ordinary citizens who suffer, especially the women and the children.
Thank you. Maraming salamat na.
The problem of violence on women in war is a worldwide problem, and therefore if women link together about this, then their voice will be stronger. And this is what we're trying to do here in Beijing by organizing this event called the International Symposium on Violence in Women in War, which we coordinate with the Korean women who also do work for the Korean comfort women survivors and the Japanese women support movement and the women from Yugoslavia. We have connected, and now we are trying to connect with Rwandan women and Somalian women. And so we feel that this problem could be addressed if more and more women say this is a problem for all of us and not just of the victims, but all women are potential victims because the roots of war, the problems of war are still here around us, and therefore violence on women continue.
I'd like to speak for the women of the north of Ireland on all sides and for their struggle and hope for peace, which is at the moment not completely confirmed.
I decided to not wear black because I am black. And I wanted to wear a dress that might show that the sun shall rise. There is hope. No matter how subjugated we feel, no matter how hopeless we feel, and especially in my region, when we remember Rwanda and remember Somalia, Liberia, Sudan, and all the other places where slaughter goes on all the time, we speak against arms trade, which is being sold. The guns are being sold to poor Africans to kill each other so that they may remain poor, underprivileged, and marginalized. But we cannot lose hope. Here in Beijing, in the midst of all of you, we feel that the sun shall rise. And so we join all of you, and we continue to hope that we shall share the solidarity that we have seen here this evening. May you have peace when you go home.
I think if we ever get it together to share our experiences and really look at it, it is the same. It is so similar, especially women in the third world country and women in the United States, especially women of color, who have very similar experience: high teen pregnancy, low education, domestic violence, issues of health, higher diabetes, higher cancer. Same thing, very, very similar stories that we all can share.
What I'm seeing, there's a real determination, a real commitment to improving their lives, and they have the realization that it's women who are going to have to do that.
Women came to Beijing in unprecedented numbers because we believe we do make a difference. I believe each of us can and does make a difference. Here today, it is important to know that the global women's movement is alive and well.